about Mr. Miller and I a couple of months ago. We went to a school to see juicy sentences. I had heard about it. I went to a workshop. Didn't really get anything out of the workshop because I didn't feel like it was hands-on. I saw a couple of actual classrooms doing juicy sentences. I have to say I only saw, I think, one kindergarten, and the rest were really juicy sentences, where the kindergarten was just an introduction. So I'll go over one of the lessons that they had given me. And I didn't give it out, so I try to copy as much as I could. Juicy sentences. Juicy sentences. Has anyone ever heard of juicy sentences? Okay. Juicy sentences has to do with tier words. If you look at that chart right there, we have words tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Is anyone familiar with tier words? So I'll start out with tier 1 words. Tier 1 words are the words that you see in everyday language. It's the language that the kids speak out in the playground. With our L's in particular, when you listen to them speak, some of you ask yourself, why are they still in ESL? You hear them speaking English, you think, they shouldn't be an ESL student. But in reality is that they might have mastered the tier 1, but they haven't gotten to tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 1 words, like I said, there you find an answer, you have simple idioms, you have basic words, they can label. Those are the tier 1 words. Tier 2 words have to do with the grade level. They have to do with words that are across content areas. The tier 2 words. The tier 3 words have to do with higher level thinking. And I'm talking about kids that are going to know what a photosynthesis is. That's a higher order of thinking, and those words are not really common words. Tier 3. You won't hear them. But tier 2 are more of the academic language. That's the language that you want to get kids at. The tier 1 words are the ones that they're going to start out with. The tier 2 words are the ones that we're going to ask ourselves today, how can we bring the kids to tier 2 words? Those are the words that appear so many times in tests. Those are the words that the students struggle with, the tier 2 words. They have the tier 1s down, but the tier 2 are the ones that give them the most difficult time, processing that. They are words that have to do with cause and effect. They are words that have to do with contrast. Words that they have to do with comparison or addition, and then they have giving examples. Those key words will lead them to understand those terms. So today we're going to be looking at juicy sentences. Dr. Fillmore, she's the one that came up with the juicy sentences. She wants to take children, she wants to allow children to deconstruct and reconstruct sentences. Where are we going to get these sentences? Mainly they're going to be with nonfiction. So you're going to get them in nonfiction. I was looking everywhere at the example, at the video. We actually have a video to show you because I felt, you needed to see this video, and she was gracious enough to give me a copy, the principal in that school. The deconstruction and reconstruction of sentences. If you look, a juicy sentence has words that are in the tier 2 category. So what I did along the room, I picked out various texts that were nonfiction, and I picked out juicy sentences that I felt that the kids could use. There was so much information in those couple of sentences, even though I called it a juicy sentence, it might have been 2 sentences or 3 sentences, that you're going to see that there's a lot to teach based on that. Grammar is something that we don't teach anymore. That's a separate, isolated lesson. But grammar can also be incorporated when you're looking at juicy sentences. Also, okay. So if everyone looks at this paper, Becoming Language Watchers. It says Becoming Language Watchers learn English, not in English. Focusing attention on text, instructional conversations about how English works. What they really want children is to amplify, not to simplify. They're asking you not to look at a text that's going to be too easy for them, to look at a text that might have some challenging words. Because again, it goes on the day of the test, the ELA, nice and flat, they're not looked at. If you look at those tests, the language, you'll see some tier 1 words, but there's a lot of tier 2 words. And the kids, I've seen it again and again, they just don't get it. And I think that they have to have the experiences at a lower grade. So this is how the teacher prepares for it. She gets a juicy sentence. It's packed with information. And then she takes apart the subject from the verb, the topic. In kindergarten, you might just be looking for nouns and verbs. That's why I gave you these 2 sheets. Because within these 2 sheets, there's something that you could look at. Back and front, there's something for kindergarten and for 1st grade that they're able to get from one of the juicy sentences. Antonyms, synonyms. Then what she does is, the teacher, what they do is they break it, they check the smallest, they break down the sentence into essential and stated facts inside a long sentence. So what they do is they're going to take this big paragraph, and now the kids are going to have to figure out what does that passage say. So that's why I gave you this sheet in juicy sentences. So, but as a teacher, you need to find where you're going to get your text, because what I went kind of crazy looking for text that was appropriate for kindergarten and 1st grade. But I was able to find something. So even in social studies, even if you did juicy sentences within social studies, you're going to be able to pull out a paragraph from something that you're teaching them. I picked out in one of my juicy sentences, I know I did community workers, and we're doing community workers with the 1st grade, and I was able to pull a text. But I've noticed when you're reading a book, even from a basic nonfiction book, that you can get something out of it. You just really have to be like a language watcher, where you're actually finding the language. You want that rich paragraph, or those couple of rich sentences that you feel that you can get something out of it and they can get something out of it. So the classroom that I went to observe, the first thing that they did was they had one of these. The one with the 4 blocks. You could do this however. I saw teachers in the classroom, they did it however they felt. They used a piece of paper. Some of them had copies.